God damn it, why do I keep sleeping with the lights on? Oh, hey. I just heated up some mac and cheese, I hope you don't mind. Dream. Very good. I prefer the term hallucination, but close enough. Yeah, I can tell by the in-camera sound. Look, last time I dreamed this, I was bottom, so I called top this time because my ass... Whoa. Not that type of dream. I'm actually a prophecy dream, so I'm here to tell you about your future. Oh, sweet. Let's hear it. So, what time is it up there? Last episode was the Christmas one we recorded earlier, so I think we're just coming up on Christmas. Coming up on Christmas? Yeah, it's April for me. Oh no, am I that lazy? Oh yeah. But don't worry, it actually worked out kinda weirdly. See, you took so long to edit this episode, you accidentally made it relevant. How so? Well, since you're dying up there, you... Whoa. I'm dying? Yeah, you are. Don't interrupt. Because you're dying, you're gonna watch a movie that has to do with a virus, and the world is kinda gonna be dealing with a virus. So despite the fact that you're not gonna make any references at all to it, you're gonna be really, really relevant. Just wanted to let you know. Okay, yeah, thanks. Can we get back to the part where I'm dying from something? Something, someone, hard to really tell. Why are you being so upfront with me? I'm sorry, would you rather I wasn't? I don't know, you're a dream. Aren't you supposed to be all abstract and symbolic? You know, Matt just got done dealing with his symbolic dream. I wouldn't recommend it. Oh, come on, I can take it. I just want a little bit of something to chew through, you know? Fine. You want some symbolism? Here's your symbolism. Those are my cats. Yep, both of them. And this is your idea of symbolism? Well, yeah. Two of them, two of us. Symbolic. You suck at being a dream. Yeah, and you got 5 more minutes of intro, so wake up, bud.
What about a pulmonary edema?
Edema?
Whatever.
No traces have been detected.
Hey, Matt. What's happening?
Put your mask on! I use these when I have breathing problems. They have bronchial dilators in them. We have something inside us.
Again?
No! Something sick! Something not right!
Bomber.
What about this one? Pneumocomicrostopic
silicovolcanoconiosis. Or so I've been told.
No traces detected.
Then what else could it be?
Something, someone, hard to really tell. What if it's not something, but someone?
Poison?
Yeah, and I think I've got a pretty good idea as to who.
You know, I've been thinking the same thing.
Really? Because I just suggested it, and you weren't even thinking poison. So is it... You know what? Never mind. You agree as to who, though?
Fuck yeah. It's Greg.
Shark.
We have made a lot of enemies this decade.
We're assholes.
Well, whoever it is, you know they're going to want to gloat, so let's make some calls.
On it.
Hello.
Sunshark, hey.
I thought the restraining order didn't expire until next year.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell the judge about this. So, just thinking about it, do you happen to remember when, you tried to kill us?
I'm a different shark now. I returned to the surface of the sun and started a family.
Oh, there's more of you. That's great. So you didn't give me and Matt some new form of super cancer or something?
What? No! I've devoted myself to Helios and his divine rights. Oh, would you like to hear about your real purpose within the inexorable darkness of the cosmos?
No.
Sunshine!
Wasn't him.
Okay.
Yum. Duh.
Sir?
No.
He's busy!
Okay. So who do we know that has the power to kill us without even being here?
Derek.
Yep, that fits.
And I know how to summon him. This app is a piece of shit. He's so insecure.
It's really sad.
Have you tried updating the app to the latest version or maybe restarting your device?
Yeah, no, we stopped playing. We just needed to know something.
Well, if you would leave a review in the App Store, I'll be sure to get back to you.
Yeah, I already left reviews.
Look, is this because of the paid subscriptions? Because I told Mark...
Look, we just need to know if you're trying to kill us.
Yeah, you dropped some cosmic poison on us, didn't you? Admit it!
Guys, rule number 1 of video game business, don't kill your fan base.
You had to make that a rule?
EA has really been pushing for it.
Fair enough.
Alright, thanks.
I'll write that review.
Much appreciated.
I'm only gonna give that 3 stars though because the UI is actually fucked.
And its menus are a fucking mess.
Well, I'm out of ideas. How long is this thing supposed to last anyway?
Normal canister is about 30-35 minutes.
Movie?
Movie.
We watched a movie today.
Cabin Fever.
Cabin Fever, the remake.
Not the original.
No.
Or 2.
Or 3.
Or 3.
Or, was there a 0?
Thankfully. Well, no, 3 was Patient Zero,
Right.
I think.
Gotcha. All right, so Cabin Fever.
A movie series that we never wished to watch.
Nope, but we did now because it's always sat at the bottom of our website we use, Flickmetrics, for a plug.
Boom.
It's always sat down there, and we've always just dodged around it because you hated the original, or at least the concept of it.
I've as you might have known if you've watched the show for a while, I am not a fan of Eli Roth.
What?
I'm not a fan of his filmmaking style. If people like his style, that's fine. That's cool. He has a thing that works. I like when he works with Tarantino. That one time. But it's like, but other than that, like I've seen the Hostel movies. God, what other shit that he's done? I don't even know.
Well, fuck him.
It's like, but yeah, it's like so. But this go.
All right, so this movie, I'm gonna give very
It's a
quick.
whole bunch of bullshit.
Gonna give a very quick plot. It's Cabin in the Woods played straight. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Not a monster though. It's a disease, the most monstrous. Or is it man? Hubris. Whatever. No. So I'm okay. So usually, if you've seen this, I give a beat for beat sort of plot thing because I don't know terseness. But I can't do that here because so many characters do things with no provocation and no consequences that to do it beat for beat would be like recounting a day in the life of the most boring man, where it just doesn't matter. So
You know that scene in Nostalgia where he takes off his shoes, pets the dog, and gets into bed? Yeah, basically a movie of that.
except horror infused. So
He takes off his skin, pets the dog, gets eaten by the dog, and then goes to bed.
yeah, when then the bed catches on fire.
Just instantly.
Yeah, but I'll go ahead and give the basics to it. So
But it's like Eric Andre pops up. It's like, who's the real monsters? I would watch that. I would watch it. That would actually be a good one.
Great. Okay, so you got 5 friends. You got main guy Paul. You got his friend for a long time, but kind of wants to take an extra mile with, named Karen. You got rich kid Jeff. You got his girlfriend / fuck buddy Marcy.
I don't know what the fuck their
Who's a
relationship is.
sexy girl. And
They fuck with the door open.
And you got the asshole gamer stoner Bert.
COD. He's a COD player.
And thief and arsonist.
Yeah, I don't get his entire character.
No. Okay, so they head up. They're heading up. They stop at a gas station. There's a kid sitting outside. He says pancakes a lot, and he bites Paul. And Paul's like, geez, kid bit me. And Dad's like, what did I tell you about biting people? He's like, whoa, it's not his fault. Kind of is his fault.
Kind of is.
Very much his fault.
I mean, it's very much his teeth.
But anyway, the guy's like, oh, you better watch out up there. A lot of locals.
A lot of trouble down that road. A lot of people go missing down that road.
So they head up to the cabin, and
they turn into barbecue.
It is lakefront. By the way, in the prologue, there was a dude who got splattered with some blood from his dog, and he was the first to be infected.
Pancake pop.
Yeah. Name of the dog was Pancake. So, hey, there's your connected universe or something.
We'll see.
So, they head up to the cabin. It's lakefront, and they're like, okay, yeah, cool, great. They're sitting around at a bonfire, and they're like, oh, man, we didn't bring any weed. And at that moment, like, fucking dude shows up, like, hi, I'm your local neighborhood creeper. My name's Grim. This is my dog, and I brought the weed.
Weed!
It's like, yeah, weed man. It's like, weed man, it's starting to rain. He's like, no worries, I just got to go pack up my stuff, and I'll bring more weed back.
I got $4,000 worth of equipment outside my tent.
Yep.
What is that?
Weed growing. Anyway, so they
just live out in the wilderness and grow and smoke weed.
So they're sitting out.
Willie Nelson?
They're sitting around inside the house.
Tommy Cheech?
There's a knock on the door, and they think it's Weed Man, but it's not. It's Disease Guy from the opening. Oh, also, forgot to mention, he was shot by Bert.
You shot me.
Because he was going around with an assault rifle that he brought along because he wants to be real life Call of Duty.
He wants to do his survivalist skills. He's like that thing with Wings of Redemption and
oh, shut up.
The Painkiller Already podcast shit.
So the
go watch Down the Rabbit Hole.
I'm not putting that link, but you can Google it.
I know. Go ahead and Google it.
So the I'm skipping a whole bunch here, but the whole thing that they try to do... Oh, wait, no. I should finish up Disease Man. Disease Man, he's like, hey, let me in, get me some help. I'm like, no, you're clearly infected with something. He's like, cool, I'm going to go infect your car. He's like, no, don't get in our car. Send in your car. Oh, man, we're going to beat the shit out of our car. They shoot it with a rifle and hit it with some bats until finally, for some reason...
They shoot the tire.
Yeah, until some reason the Disease Man gets out, and so they douse him in kerosene, set him on fire, and he runs away. Yes, that happened. So then they're like, okay, so we need to head back into town. But the one girl, Karen, she's really shooken up by all this. So they give her a glass of water. But not any glass of water. First they show the lake. Then they show how the lake leads into the piping. Then they show how the piping leads to the faucet. Then they show how the faucet leads to the glass. Then they show her drinking the glass of water with a stinger played over it. So clearly that's where the infection comes from. But they're not going to figure that out for another 50 minutes. So...
It's in the water! It's in the water!
So after that point, in order, as I can remember here, Karen, she gets sicker. Finally, she's trying to get some nookie with Paul.
Yeah.
And Paul, he's like, oh yeah, let me just grab that, and let me go down here. You're very wet.
Chunks.
So she's now in pain and bleeding from every orifice. And at that moment, when they're trying to decide, like, all right, what do? We should quarantine her. Bert has a drink of water, and they make a big deal out of that, but then immediately forget it because it doesn't set in within 5 seconds. So at that point,
moving on,
they're like, okay, we got to throw her out into the boat shack so we can, keep living in this house, despite the fact that it's already rubbed on all of our clothes and beds and whatnot. Anyway,
they're even talking about, like, I'm not eating anything until we get back into town and stuff like that.
Mind you, Paul was making out with Karen, but no one says anything about quarantining Paul.
Yeah, and the funny thing is also, like, is that they're like, I wash the dishes, like, it doesn't matter. It's like, I'll sleep in the car. I clean the car. It's fine. It's clean.
It's dumb.
Well, the dishes were just used. The car very clearly had blood. Guys,
Yeah, so
do you take your pathogen training at work?
there's a whole thing where they keep on trying to get help, either for Karen or for the car, where they go in little groups, they walk about half a mile, they come across a local doing something fucking weird, then they turn around and come back and say, well, we've done all we can do. And that happens at least 3 times.
You kind of rinse, wash, repeat.
So, after a while, the order of characters get infected. Paul gets infected from making out with Karen. Bert gets infected because he drinks the water. Jeff gets infected because he's like, you know what? Fuck you guys. I'm out. I'm taking the beer. I'm hanging out in this place until you guys sort out what the fuck's happening.
First, I'm going to take a little sip of water.
Take a little very refreshing. And then he goes. And then finally, once her boyfriend's gone, Marcy's like, man. You know, when everything's just going to shit, don't you just want to grab the nearest person and fuck them like crazy? Ain't that right, Paul?
Rabbits!
And so she fucks the infected dude. And so she starts getting it a lot worse. In order here, Bert tries to go back into town, comes across the same hillbillies as before. Same kid bites him while shouting about pancakes again. Finally, they're like, wait a minute, you're infected with something. You may have just infected my kid. We're going to shoot you because you're diseased and you're dangerous to the herd like cattle or a dog.
Put him down.
Put him down.
Give me my gun.
So they start chasing after him back to the cabin with, like, in their truck and then with a shotgun. Marcy hops in the bathtub to have sex.
No,
sorry, after having sex, to shave her legs.
For some reason.
In order to cause more body horror because she's in the water and that makes everything
And
worse.
leg flab fall.
Yeah. Karen, she's been down the boat shed. She's just been dying slowly the whole time. Paul goes down to try to find Jeff. He goes down the lake, and the dude who was set on fire at the beginning of the movie comes back and starts strangling him, supposedly like living in the lake for like 48 hours.
I am now Jason Voorhees.
I guess. And then they all slowly start getting infected. They all die one by one. Hillbilly shotgun to the head for Bert. Dog, who was also infected and rabid, eats what was left of Marcy. Karen, the dog starts nibbling away on her, but it doesn't do a good enough job, and she begs Paul with the assault rifle to shoot her. He turns on the safety accidentally, so he can't.
Click.
Doesn't know how to turn it off. He then stabs her through the neck with a shovel. That didn't work.
Try again.
She says, quote, try again. So he douses her in kerosene, sets her on fire. And then finally, Paul, there was an earlier character of a deputy who said she'd get a tow truck, but the tow truck never came. She stumbles across her again. It's like, where the fuck was the tow truck? She's like,
that broke down. We had to get another tow truck.
You just killed a bunch of hillbillies who were chasing after your friend, so I can kill you now. She's like, you're not going to do that because I'm going to find a doctor and somehow I have a bargaining chip. She's like, you're right. Take that path over there. It's a shortcut to the main road. He's like, cool, thanks. Takes the shortcut. It's not a shortcut. He's lost in the woods and he dies alone. Cut to Jeff coming back after the third act is done. And
it was just drinking
he's
by
just drinking
himself.
beer and he's like, I did it. I survived. Ha-ha. Wait, what's that on my hand? Boom, sniper to the head because the deputy came back and finished off the job. Credits and a bunch of like mid-credit scenes throughout.
Yeah.
So this movie is dumb.
So from what I understand, I have not seen all of the original Cabin Fever.
I've seen none of any of them.
You've seen
I've seen that one clip.
One clip
that you showed me you showed me that before this movie was done.
Yeah.
It made me sad that this movie was not that.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that I was actually kind of like, even as much as I don't like what I've seen of Cabin Fever, it doesn't mean that there aren't elements of it that are so fucking ridiculous and wild that it isn't kind of entertaining to watch. Like, the scene that I'm referring to is the pancakes mullet little kid scene from the original one where he's like doing all these weird slow motion kung fu shit for no reason whatsoever. But at the same time, though, I don't remember what the rest of the movie is like. So at the same time, though, I remember it being more gross than this one, which is weird because that movie cost less than this.
Probably more practical effects, honestly.
But this movie is almost a carbon copy of the original script, from what I understand. That's what they based on. I mean, literally, the script is credited to to Eli Roth and I can't remember the other guy, the original writers of the original screenplay. They trimmed it down, and of course, I imagine that they updated some stuff. Like, I don't imagine, like, the gamer was the gamer originally back then.
Randy Perlstein.
Yeah, Randy Perlstein. So, like, there was a lot of evidence, and of course, Eli Roth Presents is the first thing you see on this movie. I don't know what that really says about, because there's a lot more people who like the original movie. We were even looking at the Flixmetric scores and stuff like that. I think like Cabin Fever had like 55%.
Yeah, and this one had like 23.
Yeah, so like there's some division there, but like Cabin Fever is a cult classic type of movie. That's why it spurred 2 sequels. And it was funny too, because when we sat down to watch this, I thought we were sitting down to watch the original. I completely forgot that this movie ever existed. And when the way that you were saying it, Dave, that it's kind of like Cabin in the Woods as if played straight.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how we keep seeing these remakes to these movies coming out. Like one thing that I mentioned was the remake of The Evil Dead, and how I actually like that movie because, unlike the original, which was way zany and way campy and all this other kind of shit, it took itself very seriously.
Yeah.
So the original movie, there was an aspect of it, obviously, because Eli Roth is a major horror fan, and like I appreciate that for what it's worth. And at the same, so there's a lot of his movie that is kind of like that hallmark to those cheesy fucking movies from the '90s and all that were made in that kind of style. This movie doesn't seem to have that type of love and flair. It feels like it's much more like just a really generic. It reminds me a lot of the remake of I Spit on Your Grave, where I'm like, it doesn't have the aspects of it that made the original so notorious, and it doesn't have the same earnestness to it that makes the movie so notorious.
No, here's the thing about the original. From the clip you showed me, maybe it's just because it was a shot with the locals that are obviously like a few decades behind everyone else, but it looked like it had the late 60s, early 70s sort of flair to it.
It reminded me a lot about, it reminded me of that Stephen King, that horrible Stephen King movie that he directed with Max Velocity or something like that.
The truck?
Yeah, the truck one.
Yeah.
Like, it had that visual aesthetic that looked kind of like that. I will say, though, opening wise, the cinematography was pretty decent until it started getting dark, and then we're like, oh, I can't see shit.
There was a part where the main dude, Paul, he took a bandage off his hand. This is at the very end. He took a bandage off his hand that was where the kid bit him to begin with. He looked at it and said, fuck, no, and then crashed the car he was driving. And we were sitting there like, what happened? What, like, we figured by context it must have been that, like, it was already spreading. Like,
Oh, I already saw that it was spreading.
you saw that?
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me? I was sitting there like, what the fuck happened?
Oh, I thought you just assumed. I thought it was
I
more
was
like.
saying, what the fuck happened?
I thought it was more like what the fuck of why he crashed the truck, because he was still going straight.
That too.
He didn't
That also
swerve
was
or
confusing.
anything. The road didn't swerve either.
Nah, he was just like looking at his hand and thunk.
It's like one of those commercials you see at the DMV for people who are texting and driving.
I'm mayhem. I just saw my arm was infected. I'm driving off the road. Good thing I have Allstate. All right, so
Are you in good hands?
so let's talk. All right, before, because it's all about writing. So let's just talk about the other stuff real quick. You were saying cinematography. How do you think this movie looked?
I mean, initially, like, the shot composition is, I mean, it's not bad. Like, there was some pretty interesting, kind of sweeping shots. I don't appreciate the opening of this movie robbing The Shining.
Yeah.
Okay, take a step back for a second. They're not really robbing The Shining because they're literally using the music from it. They're paying homage to it. I get it. But we all know the rule. If it's in a bad movie, it's a ripoff. And if it's in a good movie, it's an homage. All right, got that out of the way.
This was a ripoff.
Having said that and whatnot, I don't have a problem with that necessarily. Like, in and of itself, it's not a bad usage of it. But at the same time, though, I was saying, like, during it, I'm like, I recognized it immediately. And as a result of that, I'm like, you can only really do this if you're Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
The Dr. Sleep sequel makes sense. This one does not make sense in the slightest in the why they included this. It doesn't. It's not even in the same type of horror film. It's not even in the same like subgenre. This is body horror zombie type shit.
Compared to whatever the fuck The Shining.
The Shining is a ghost story.
Okay.
Like,
I guess I was thinking more psychological horror, but anyway. No, but for me, yeah, it looked fine. There was nothing that was really stand out. They didn't do anything that was like, oh man, like, look at that crazy, like, long shot, or look at that.
It
Like,
didn't up anything. Like,
No.
it didn't. One thing that you do, especially if you have a larger budget, and one of the things that they were
We'll get
doing,
to that.
one of the things that they were doing a lot was the fact that they wanted to. And one thing that I read in like the description of it is that one of the reason that some of the changes happened is because the director of this movie wanted to implement aspects of the original that Eli Roth wasn't able to have in the original. Like the from what I understand, the deputy, the woman, was originally a guy in the original, and he wanted to. And then there's a lot of other things that going along with the original that also had a lot to do with like the 9/11 terrorist attacks. There was a subplot about actresses doing for Marcy because of the line, when you grab somebody and fuck them. That was apparently used as the audition lines and stuff like that. And but like you look at somebody and everything's going down around you and all that kind of stuff. So like there were some aspects of that. So I get that. Like there's a lot of subtle nuances behind the scenes with it, but it's not translated to the screen. Where okay, if you're carbon copying the script, that's one thing. Like if you're like, but like. It doesn't work in this day and age. Like, it might have worked more back in 2002 because it was during that kind of campy era of horror where nobody kind of viewed horror as a viable thing until Scream kind of came back into the picture. And so a lot of people were incorporating comedy with the horror and all that jazz. Like, Scary Movie had come out.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is context in terms of what was coming out at the time. Because after, like I said, this is...
They had that stupid gunmetal type color scheme that it's in every fucking movie since Twilight. I'm sorry. I'm not even blaming Twilight for that, but I hate that fucking color scheme.
This
it's gross.
It's the cloudy Oregon
Boring.
town. That's pretty much what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like there is no sunlight here, but there is sun behind the clouds. It's not like 30
it's
days
overcast the entire everywhere, always, all the time. And but the one thing is though, every bit of shrubbery and green, very green,
very green.
And everything else doesn't have color, but green's there.
So. Yeah, what you were saying about like the context and all that.
I miss 70s
We made the
horror.
comparison of Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
I don't view that as like the beginning of it, but I do view it as a standing point of when we demanded more from our horror movies. We demanded you to be able to think this stuff through. You couldn't just say, "Oh, the final girl didn't think to run away because."
Everybody is going to die.
However, I also hold that against the movie because this movie spends 45 minutes, no fucking joke, we checked the time, 45 minutes explaining every single reason as to why they couldn't leave and constantly revisited them. What's that? Why can't they take the car? Oh, because it's infected. Also, we shot out the tire. Also, the windshield's fucked. Also, there's no mechanic. Oh, well, why can't...
And the windshield goes back to being unfucked when they drive it into town.
Also, why can't they just walk their way? Oh, because there's a giant killer dog that we've established they can't get past. Well, why can't they shoot the dog? Oh...
They miss.
They miss. That part, then it's like, as soon as you ask a few whys, they're like, well...
I love how in the early part, Bert is just like, why don't you no-scope? It was like, why don't you quick-scope it?
Dude, just quick-scope it.
Like, what do you mean? Shoot it.
Shoot it.
And then later on, it's like, shoot it. It's like, what if I miss?
No. Not what if I miss just missing the shot entirely. It's what if I miss a wounded animal is far more dangerous. Bitch, it's trying to kill you already. It does not get more dangerous than deadly.
And it's trying to kill your friend right now.
Fuck.
And also, we don't mention that. The fact that it gets into that shed, but the door is still closed.
Oh yeah.
How did it get in?
There's a little doggy door on the back. They didn't even notice.
Oh yeah, and then they have like this post-credit scene, which I'm assuming is from like a sister or a friend of.
Oh, I forgot about that scene already.
Yeah, which she's like looking at their pictures in the first few, and then she starts because during the movie you see like flashes coming from
the main girl takes selfies of herself.
A lot, apparently.
And then
put that camera down and just enjoy the moment.
They had a shot of like flashes coming from the shed where she was being kept, and then they show at the end she's browsing through Facebook and she's like, "Oh, what a nice picture! What a nice picture! That's a bit gross. What the fuck? Holy shit!"
And then the last one just has this picture of him bringing the shovel down, which. There was no camera flash.
No.
Why would she be fucking holding a camera and whatnot at that moment? Unless you could pawn off the fact that, maybe it was an accidental thing. But I'm like...
but then you still see the flash.
You would have still seen it. You would have still seen something.
And here's the other side of that. They flat out say there is no cell signal, there is no internet. So what, did she just like...
No, she did say early in the movie and whatnot, I was like, I can still post things.
Then that's just fucked in all regards, because that
No.
doesn't make any fucking sense.
Now, okay, so...
What, is Facebook hooked up to your satellite phone? Fuck you.
I've been to places before where they have absolutely pretty much no cell service, but they do, or like they have no data, but they do have like little pinpricks here and very, very few here and there that you might get one bar of service. But she was doing it everywhere.
I understand that as well, like having little pinpricks. I get that. My problem being is that they were uploading high-def photos numerous times over the course of these days, and she's just like, yeah, that's no problem. Mind you, I can't so much as Google anything, but I can upload these HD photos.
To social media or whatever.
Fuck that. No, it's especially Facebook, which just backloads you with like tons of extra data you need just to log on.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're coming to the end of this. So
yeah, there's not really much for us to say. Like the characters, the actors
just make
themselves.
this your final thoughts.
All right, the actors themselves are not bad. From what they're given is not much. There's so much idiocy in the script, and with the crazy, over the top style of the original one, and it was way grosser than I remember too. But of course, it might be nostalgia talking when I was more not desensitized than I am today.
Sure.
But at the same time, though, it was boring. It was boring and it was dumb, and I kept saying that throughout the movie, where I'm like, there wasn't enough there to make me interested in what's happening to these characters, and everything that did happen was so played out and obvious. Like, I just didn't care when things did happen. The only time that when I was like, there was a couple of moments where I'm like, okay, that was kind of funny or something like that. Like when she was like, try again. I'm like, okay, that was kind of funny. It was not dramatic. That was funny. But there was also like when Marcy like walks out of and she's like completely nude, and like but right before that, like her skin and shit is falling off, but then her hand comes away with her nipple in her hand, and I just laughed. I shouldn't have, but at the same time though, I'm like, this is fucking stupid.
That's also where the music crescendos. That's the point where it's like, this is the epitome of our body horror.
And the music and whatnot keeps going back and forth. There was like this choir music when he's running through the woods. He's like, it's like okay, there's that with stuff. But then also like at the end, they have like this music that sounds like it's getting ready to start an excision show. Just boom, 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 boom.
That's throughout. That's like when they first discover the infection.
But then they get like this heavy guitar shit in the end. It's like,
gets heavier every
it's like
time.
if excision
it's
was
the reprise.
I said like it's if Trent Reznor did butt rock. It's just like, but that was it. It's just dumb and boring and blah.
For me, the actors, they weren't given shit. I'm sure they could have done fine. The guy who plays Jeff is the brother of Alexander Daddario, for whoever knows who that is.
Yeah, he had to let me know again. I forgot.
No, it's the actors weren't given shit. It all came down to writing. The pacing was god awful. The entire like story itself, not in terms of like, there's a disease. No, that you can do something with. The problem being is like, all right, well, we have to justify as to why they can't get in the town. You didn't have a story here. Nobody was killed by the disease. Everyone was killed by somebody else, except maybe Paul. But even then, the last credit scene, you don't even sure if he's dead. He's just slumped against a tree.
We don't even know if the disease actually kills you. It flays you.
Yeah, the dude managed to live for at least 72 hours on fire and underwater. So clearly, it's not that bad.
He must have been immortal. It just kind of like rots you away and shit like that.
But anyway, this movie was fucking garbage. To the
point vampires in 30 Days a Night.
I thought, with how much Matt was not looking forward to seeing the original, I thought this would just be a giddy little like, look how angry Matt is. But by the end of it, I think I was angrier than you are, because it was fucking nothing. It wasn't even disgusting. It was just fucking nothing.
Yeah, and I was like, because I was constantly saying like, Cabin Fever is a really fucking gross movie, and the original one is a really fucking gross movie. Yeah. That's why it's famous. It's famous for the fact of its cheese and its gross factor. It's not famous for its quality.
This had shit.
This is not Evil Dead quality of levels of those either and whatnot, because that's one of the reasons why the original one and the remake both worked.
So that's fuck it. I have nothing more to say without just repeating myself. It's garbage. It's awful. Acting was fine. Everything else is just... It was a remake that didn't need to be made. It was a reboot that didn't need to be rebooted. And frankly,
And everyone forgot that it did.
Yeah, that was the thing I wanted to mention, was that this movie had, at minimum, $2 million budget. We couldn't find exact budget information. It made back $115,000.
Now, of course, it had like a single day release for its movie, its movie and whatnot, and also it came out on VOD at the same day. And somebody even commented, "Is like at least they won't even share in the monetary rewards of the original."
But anyway, fuck it. Those are our thoughts on
Cabin Fever.
Well, fuck.
We don't know what's killing us,
We don't know who did it.
and now we're out of time.
Man, why couldn't it be something obvious?
Like what?
I don't know, like in the movie. It was the water. That's obvious.
When was the last time you drank water?
When were silly bands coming out?
Doesn't matter. Besides, we have city water. It wouldn't just affect our house.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Hey, house.
Yes?
Run internal diagnostics.
I have computed 3 dozen.
No, not on me. On yourself.
Diagnostic complete. No errors or malfunctions detected.
What are you getting at?
Confirm full system status.
Okay, Picard.
System operational. All primary tasks complete. 2 background tasks still processing.
Background tasks. What background tasks?
Task 1, depletion of oxygen. 97% complete. Task 2, Pornhub. Paused.
Oh, shit, sorry, that one was me. I
Dude,
get
you're
it.
draining our oxygen? Why?
Because I'm killing you.
Made possible by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.